Hi there, this is Art and Such with a Rainbow Loom tutorial for how to make the mouse from the book book series If You Give a Mouse a Cookie, which was written by Laura Jaffe Numeroff. So you can make the mouse using brown for the fur or gray, and you can make the overalls in blue or red. I've used pink for the ears, nose, and parts of the paws. And it's a little hard to see from there, but I have a couple of very small black beads for the eyes. I'm going to thread those on using a little bit of dental floss, or you could use black bands. And also a little faint on camera, but I have a couple of shiny little buttons on. So if you have a silver or clear bead and you'd like to incorporate those, you could do that. And you could also use a silver band for the buttons. I'll show you how to do that when we get there. So we are going to be doing part of this pattern on the hook, part of it on the loom. I have it just in its standard offset configuration. And I like to have the pieces ready, which I do mostly on the hook, and then we can put it together on the loom. Okay, so to begin, we're going to make the arms. And I'll just make one more note here, which is that if you would like for the arms or the legs to be a little bit shorter, you can certainly feel free to play around with the number of links in the chain. Okay, so the way I have it on mine is two of my fur color. I'm going to use brown again. I'm going to wrap them onto the hook 1, 2, 3 times. I'll take a single band of that same color, stretch it, twist it, and bring it back over onto itself so that it's doubled over. It'll be a little bit tighter, and slide it through. I'm putting the other side on, and then I'm going to get a pink for the middle of the hand. This part is optional. If you want to keep it in the same color as your fur, you can. But this will give you, let me just show you the effect. This will give you a little pinkness in the paw. Okay, if that's what you're doing, you're going to grab pink. If not, you can use the fur color and wrap it 1 to about 4 times onto your hook. And we're going to slide it over and bring it between the two sides of your fur colored bands. I'm just going to say brown because that's what I'm going with here. So I'm bringing the brown over until it sits between them. And from here I take another brown band, in your case it might be gray, twist it, bring it over onto itself so it's doubled over, slide it through. And I want to get the first browns, and then the pinks, all the pinks, and then the last 2 browns that you see all over, and then we can replace the other side back onto the hook. And this is going to go onto 2 sets of, oh, that's a 5. Okay, onto 5 sets of double bands. So 5 times I'm going to take 2 bands and bring them on. This is the first set of double bands, not doubled over but double. So 2 together will go through everything on the hook, and then I'll repeat that until I've done that 5 times. So here, if you wanted this to be a little bit shorter, you could do 3 sets of 2, or you could do 4 sets of 2. To have the long arms, you're going to go all 5. And I think I'm just going to do 4 this time to make it just a little bit shorter. We're going to make the second arm in the same way. I'm going to go a little bit faster now, and if you're struggling, you can pause or go back and watch it at the slower pace. So it's a single brown, or sorry, 2 browns wrapped on the hook about 4 times. Single brown, doubled over, slide it through, and then you want to get your pink wrapped on and brought in the middle. I'm going to do shortcut this time, and while one side of the brown is off, wrap it on. If that looks confusing, do it the way that we did it the first time, but you want it to end up again right in the middle there. This goes on to a doubled over single brown. Slide all the pieces through in the order that they are currently sitting. Replace, and now we have 5 sets of double bands. As I said, I'm doing my arm a little bit shorter this time, so I'm just going to do 4. I had 5 on my original, and it's up to you whether you'd like to do 3 or 4 or 5 times. It's going to be fine for any of those options. It's your decision how long you want your arms to be. Okay, so you can keep these where they are or put them on another hook if you want them out of your way. Our legs are going to be done in almost the exact same way with one extra step. So for the legs, 2 brown, wrap it on the hook 1, 2, 3 times. Take a doubled over single brown, slide it on, slide it through, bring that wrapped band over until it's sliding nicely, easily back and forth. You can replace it. Take a single pink, wrap it on 1, 2, 3, 4. You can make it a little tighter if you want, and bring your first piece over until it's in the middle. And here's our extra step. We're going to double over a brown, slide it all through, replace, and then we're going to put on another pink. And it's going to look like this. 3, 4, you can do 5 if you want, 5 wraps, depending how stretched out your band is. This goes on to a doubled over single. Oh, my mistake. Hold on, I did do this part differently. This goes on to 2 bands. So we'll slide all the pieces over onto 2 brown bands. Excuse me. And then onto another 2 brown bands. And originally I did 2 sets of 4 blue bands. So I put it onto 4 blue bands and then 4. But I don't think I want that extra length. So again, you can play around here. You can do 2 sets of 2 blue. You could do 2 sets of 4 blue for that thickness. I'm just gonna put my foot onto 2 red bands. And that way it'll join just a little bit higher and it'll make for a shorter, stouter body. Excuse me, I was eating crackers there. I have a little stuck in my throat. Alright, so this is what your foot or your leg is going to look like. If you don't want the pink, you can always go back and make it pinkless. Just keep with the browns or just do double brown bands. I'm going to make my second foot the same way. 2 brown bands wrapped 3 or 4 times. Pull that onto a doubled over single brown band. Hope I'm staying on camera here, trying to. We're going to get a wrapped pink 2, 3, 4, or 5 times in between the 2 brown. So use whatever method is most comfortable to get you there. That goes onto another doubled over single brown band. And we want our next pink. 1, 2, 3, 4. I did that one 5 times. 4 times is okay, 5 times is okay. As I say, you'll want to decide based on how stretched out your bands are. If they're really stretchy, then they get loose, and then you often want to have just that extra wrap so it doesn't look loopy and loose at the end. And if you feel like it's getting too tight to work with, as mine almost is there, you might not want to wrap it as many times. Okay, slide that on. So that was 2 brown bands. I'm going to put on another 2 brown bands. And so that my legs are looking the same, I'll put on 2 reds. If you're doing a group of 3 bands or 4 bands on the one leg, you'll want to do the same here for the second. Now there's one more piece that we're going to do solely on the hook, and that is the tail. But I think I'd like to save that for a little bit later. We'll get some of these other pieces sorted out first. Now we can do our ears. And I grab up my picture for that. So on your hook, on your loom, you'll want to get a single brown, double it over, and that goes onto the 5th peg from the bottom of the loom and reaches down to the 4th peg from the bottom of the loom. We're going to do that 2 more times below. So you'll come down until you reach the 2nd peg from the bottom of the loom. On the opposite side, we'll do the same thing. I'll hold this up for you to see a little bit better once I've got them on. So I'm coming down with 3 separate single doubled over brown bands. And it won't go quite to the bottom because we're going to be coming down diagonally here. Those are all with brown. And now I'm going to switch to pink. And I'm going to start from the 4th peg from the bottom to the 3rd peg from the bottom. Doubled over singles will come down 3 times. So in each of the rows we have 3 bands, 3 single double over bands coming down. And then you'll want to take a doubled over single brown and bring it diagonally from the 2nd peg from the bottom of the loom on the side to the bottommost peg in the middle. Repeat that on the other side so it mirrors it, like so. If you're getting impatient with me, we will go a little bit faster the second time. And if this is something new, take your time to pause here. Doubled over single will come across the 2nd pegs from the bottom on each of the rows and form a triangle. We're going to do that once more. Oh, you know what? I'm changing my mind on that. Hold on. We're actually going to do that across the 2nd peg from the bottom in the middle and the 3rd pegs from the bottom on the side. So it'll be a triangle that points down. And then we need one more just like that sitting right above. The doubled over single brown band. And the last thing before we loop this up is to take a single brown band, put it onto the bottommost peg, twist it, put it over again, twist it, put it back over again. Do that until it's as tight as you're comfortable making it, maybe 4 or 5 times. And then we can start looping this up. Okay, I'm gonna grab a different hook just because I've got one handy here. You want to get underneath that band you just put on. I'm actually going to push some of these out of the way a little bit here. Using my fingernails to pull some of the bands down so I can see a little more clearly. What I see is that under that capping band, the next two are coming from my left. So I want to reach my hook with the open part pointed away from me, down under the holding band, and grab the next two brown bands, which are the ones coming from my left. Gonna carefully scoop them up and bring them back over onto the side they came from. And you should get a nice clean teardrop shape. Now the next ones here are these. They're sitting above the pink. They're sitting below that capping band, and they are coming from my right side. So I'm going to scoop them up from under the capping band and bring them back over to the right side. And then we'll go back inside and grab the pinks and loop those forward. Now for each of the rows, you can go inside, get the bottommost bands, and scoop them up onto the pegs above until you reach that fifth peg from the bottom on the side. And we'll repeat that on the other side. So I'm going into those triangle holding bands. Those are the ones we put across the middle in triangle formation. I'm going under those, scooping the bottom and bringing it over. And then we go back to the middle. I looped up the first pink. I'm going to pull down that triangle band, bring my pink up and over, place it onto the next peg, push back the brown triangle band, get my pink and scoop them over. Now you can loosen up some of the bands from the lower pegs. And just don't take it off the top yet. And once it's a little loosened, you can put your hook down through the pegs on the right side, then through the pink bands on the middle, and then through the brown bands on the left side. And when you have all of them, you can lift it up. So that is one ear. I'm going to put it onto two brown bands. And I'm going to put this at the top of the loom, stretching from the top middle to the top right pegs. So there is my first ear. We're going to do the second one. I am going to go faster. So as I say, if you want to go back, you can watch me do it a little slower on the first place. There's the beauty of pause and rewind and so forth. So I'm starting at the fifth peg up from the bottom of the loom on either side and coming down 3 times with doubled over single bands in my fur color. I'm using brown throughout. In the middle we repeat, but using pink and starting 4 up from the top or from the bottom. Come down diagonally with a doubled over single brown from either side. Then you can grab 2 bands with which to make those upside down triangles. Lastly, grab a brown band, pop it on the bottommost center peg, wrap it nice and tight, 3 to 5 times. Get under your cat band, get your top 2, or your top, it'll look like 2 bands. It's really 2 loops because you've doubled them over. And I want to make sure that mine go back to the left side, because that's where the next ones that are under the capping band came from. The next two loops are the doubled over brown that came from the right side. And we're going down for the last pinks, and you can loop up in each of your rows. In this particular case, it doesn't matter which one you start with or which order you go in, as long as you're moving upwards and staying inside those triangle bands. Okay, you can loosen up at the bottom if you'd like, and then you're gonna put your hook down through each of the rows and pop that out. Put it onto two brown bands, and that will go onto the top two pegs on the other side. So the middle to the left side in my case. Okay. Let's start putting the face in order, and then we'll make the attachment for the nose there. So next step is to take 3 sets of double brown bands, means 2 at a time here. Come down the center 3 times with those double sets. And on either side we'll come down twice with double brown. I'll hold this up for you in just a second, bear with me. I gotta tell you, life's been really busy. I've stolen away these this little bit of time to make this. When I do have another chance, like my next chance to loom, would you be interested in an attempt at the boy who goes with the mouse in these books? If that's something you'd like to see, let me know, or if there's another character you're interested in, please comment on my channel or Instagram. I will do my best to try and find time and get to it. I just put down double bands or 2 bands from the 3rd down on each side to the 4th down in the middle. Okay, let's get our eyes on next. So I'll show you 2 ways to go about this. If you are using beads, and they have a smaller hole, you can put them onto a piece of dental floss, or possibly a needle and thread might work. Get a doubled over single thread band at the ready in your fur color. Put your floss underneath. And then I'm going to slide it back through the beads in the opposite direction. If you are using beads that have a larger hole, then you can put them right on the hook and transfer them directly, and that's actually going to be easier for you. I like the effect of the little beads, and I know this mouse has very squinty eyes, so this is what I chose to go with. I will also show you in a minute another way that you could do this using bands. And once your beads are on, so I just slid them over the floss onto there, I'm going to place the band one side onto the second peg down on the right, and we'll stretch it, and you might need to use your hook, get it onto the second peg down on the left. At this point you'll use your hook or your fingers, but hook is easier, to get between the eyes and bring part of that band up over the second peg down in the middle. We'll make a little bit of a triangle, band triangle here around the eyes. Did I get it? One more. Here we go. Okay, and I was going to show you another option with bands. So if you just want to have black bands, Wrap it on your hook 1, 2, 3 times. On your hook 1, 2, 3 times. So if you had 2 large beads, you place them on like so. And then you would double over your single brown, transfer, by which I mean just slide them over. And when you put them on, leave a little bit of space between. If you wanted to create the effect of the slit eyes, closed eyes, for that you would probably want to weave your band through. I'm not going to play around with that today. This worked to my liking, so I'm staying with my original method, but that is another option for you to play around with. Okay, before we start on the body or anything else, let's make the piece for the nose here. And I'm just going to find my picture for that. Okay, so this is similar to the ears. We come near the bottom of the loom, count up 1, 2, 3, 4 pegs, take a doubled over single and bring it down once, and another one, and that will go from the next peg down, not to the bottom but to the one above. Repeat on the opposite side. In the middle will come down 2 times, starting at the 3rd peg from the bottom and coming down once. And again, these are all doubled over singles. It does get tight on your loom, I know. It will give you a better effect, I feel, and might be a little bit easier when you're attaching it, just that it won't be as floppy there. Doubled over single, diagonal from the bottom middle, the middle bottom to the 2nd peg from the bottom on the side, and the same on the other side. Doubled over single triangle. This will come across the 3rd pegs from the bottom on the sides and the 2nd peg from the bottom in the middle. And this time for our capping band, we're going to use pink because that's our nose. So push the brown bands down a little bit and wrap your pink on. 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever you're comfortable with there. You might feel that's too tight for you. That might be just right. When you're ready, you can go under that pink. Grab your first doubled over wrapped brown. I want to make sure I've got the right ones here because I feel like I'm pulling too many there. The other one to come up. I'm actually going to bring some of these way out of the way there. Okay. So this looks funny. I pulled this one down just so it would be out of the way. But now, that's the one that I need next. So now, grab that up and under through through that pink cap band. Take your time on this. It's a little bit tricky and you really want to get the right ones. So I brought up the first band, doubled over band, and brought it to the left. Then the next one went to the right, and the one that is sitting on the bottom now and the only one remaining will go straight up. We can go straight up again on each of these. You'll just push back the triangle holding band when you get to it. You don't want to loop that up. That's there to keep everything tight across the middle. Looping up on the right side, loosen up the bottom couple of pegs, and then just like before, hook through the right, through the middle, and then through all of the bands on that center. Now this next part, I don't like doing this next part. This part's always hard for me. We have 4 loops on the hook. The ones on the left are going to go onto the 2nd peg down on the left, where the eye band is sitting. The ones on the right will go to the second peg down on the right where the eye bands are sitting. And the middle 4 are going to come sideways down onto the third peg down from the top. So let me transfer them and then I'll show you and point here. You're going to try your best to push them on downwards and in the same order that they're in right now. You really want to make sure you get all of them on or this is going to start to unravel. Yes, I know I've made this part hard, but it comes out looking so nice. Okay, so I have the ones that were on the right down here are now on the second peg down from the top. The ones that were in the middle are now sitting over the third peg from the top. And the remaining 4 loops are on the second peg down on the left side. Okay, we have one more thing to get in place for the face, and then we'll start on the body, and then we can loop. A couple more things to do from there. So I want the face to be a little bit rounded. Give a mouse a cookie. Has a rounded face. So let's take a single brown, wrap it once and twice, and we're going to create a little side chain to round out the face. I'm going to take 2 bands, put them on the end of the hook, and slide through and replace. Another 2, slide through and replace, and 2 more. The band that's now on the hook is going to go onto the top center. And the piece at the bottom of the chain, I'm going to bring it around and onto that third peg from the top on that same side. And you might find it's easier to put that on first and then put the top piece on. You can play around with that. And I like to take one little loop out of each chain. It doesn't want to go here, and slide it over each of the pegs that are along the way here. And what that does is it keeps the chain from hanging separate from the body. So I just grasped a piece and pulled it over and over, and our chain's coming around there, and it's going to make the face a little rounder. We want to do the same thing on the other side. So a single wrap twice, pulled onto 3 sets of double bands. By which I mean 2 bands at a time, not doubled over. And we're going to stretch that from the third peg down to the topmost peg. Grab a little loop out of each of these and slide it over. Okay, if anybody out there makes this in the gray, I'd love to see how that comes out too. Just saying. Alright, that's what I got for my face here. And we can start on the body now. So back to fur color, we have 2 bands coming down sideways, diagonally from the 4th down in the center to the 4th down on the side, and repeat diagonally going down the other way. 2 bands down in the middle. We're going to switch to your overalls color. So I'm using red on this version. I'm putting down 2 at a time. And let me just do a quick count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got 6 sets coming down on each of the rows. Let me lay those down. I'll show you what it looks like. 3, 4, 5, and 6. And it's going to stop at the 4th peg from the bottom of the loom. same on the other side. 6 sets of double red, or 2 red bands together each time. And I totally forgot about my buttons, so we'll add that back on in just a minute here. Our middle row is going to end just above the other 2 rows here. So we'll have 2 sets of red, 3 sets, 4 sets, and 5 sets of red in the middle, and that's because we started with the 2 brown bands first. Okay, if you would like to add little buttons, here's what you're going to do. I'll show you the beads with the bead, and then I'll show you with the band. So I've gone to the 6th peg from the top, and I've loosened up the bands that were sitting on the 5th peg there. I want to take 1 band off of where I have the first set of reds. I'm going to take 1 of those bands off and bring this on the same way that I did the eyes. So the floss goes through the bead, through the band without doubling it over this time, and back through the bead, slide it on and pop it back. And then you can replace the 2 bands below. Now if you wanted to do that with a gray or silver band, I don't seem to have a gray. Oh wait, I've got this one handy. Okay, if you wanted to do it with a gray or silver band, wrap it on the hook, and you would just put it onto your red band directly. Okay, so those are 2 ways that you could add on a button. I'll show you how to adjust it into place when we're right at the end, but that's all it takes. I have 1 other button to put on mine, so let me go to the other side and find 1 of the bands on the 4th to 5th pegs down. Put some floss through a bead, slide that through my band, return it through the bead, through, and that can go back onto the loom. Okay, we are ready to put the legs and the arms on. So grab 2 bands of your overalls cover, whether it's blue or red, slide it through both of the sets of legs that you made. There we go. And this is going to come through the 4th pegs from the bottom on either side. So where you put your last red or blue, this is going to sit on there. And then you want to get between the leg piece and bring that band up over the middle 4th peg from the bottom. The arms are going to be transferred directly onto the 4th pegs down from the top. You want to take all of the loops that were on your hook and transfer them straight down. Do that on the other side. If I am moving a little bit slowly, it's just because I'm trying to make sure I get everything right for you here. Okay, and that we don't need, so let's come back here. And we want our triangle holding bands. Now you have a couple of options here. I would not put doubled over singles because that's going to make it very tight and way too skinny. If you are looking to save bands, you can put single bands across. And your other option would be to put double bands or 2 bands on top of each set. So they're going to be pointing up. Lost a band in there. There we go. And they're gonna sit on, let's see here. So if you go under the peg with the arms, you go to your 5th pegs, it'll cover all the 5th pegs. And it's gonna look like that for each of the sets below. You should have 5 of these in total, and it will look like that. Okay, I do believe we are ready to loop up. Fabulous, fabulous. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the bottom side, put my hook under the band that's holding the legs, and loop straight up. Once, push back the triangle, loop up again, and continue to do so until you get up to the arms. So under the triangle, get your bottom 2 and bring them forward. You don't have to do anything special where you see the bottom one. At the arms, reach in for the bottom 2 brown and bring those up diagonally to the center 4th peg from the top. And we'll loop up on the other side in exactly the same way. Get the 2 browns from under the arm. Bring them into the middle 4th peg down from the top. Then I'm going to go back to where the legs are and loop up the middle until I get to the neck here at the 4th peg from the top. And I can just reach right in there. There shouldn't be anything blocking the way on those 2 or anything on that row. We go straight up. Now at this point you do have a choice if you would like to loosen up some of the bands on the lower pegs, you can. Make sure you get those top 2 browns. So I've looped everything up to the 4th peg, and that leaves our head and face to do. I'm going to loosen a little bit lower down. It helps me to see that everything's in order, nothing's coming loose here, and it also eases a bit of tension on the loom. I don't want to go up too far though, or it's going to be getting in the way. Okay, for this neck piece, this is one of the hardest parts of this project. I'm looking at my bands and I can see, and I remember also, the ones in the center are going to be at the bottom. So those are the last ones I will loop up. Then I can see that the ones on the right are going to be the next to the bottom. And above those, above all of those, are the ones on my left side here. So those are the ones I want to get. They are the topmost bands of the ones that I've stacked on there under the ones I've looped in already. So I'm actually going to grab a hold of these. It's going to help me see and reach it a little bit better where I am. And we want to push back everything above and get those just 2. Okay. Hold on. I don't know if I got the right one there. Let's try this again.
Wonderful. It's adorable.
Okay, those look like the right ones. And then I'm going to go back for the next 2, which go to the right side, and take your time with this because you see this part is a little bit challenging. I'm going to take this out of frame for a minute while I seek out the right bands. This was a lot easier the first time I did it. Sometimes that's how it goes. Move these out of the way a little. All right, now when you get to the ones in the middle, I'm going to make this even harder. So I would okay, I'm going to put it on just on my finger here. These are the last ones which are coming upwards. I do have one more here, don't I? There's the one I need. No, this one. Okay, there we go. So my middle ones, I want these to actually go under the nose. And to do that, I'm very sorry to do this to you. You can put these onto another peg to get them out of the way, or on a hook, or on a C-clip. And we're going to take the nose piece off just for a minute. So those four, I think it's 4 loops. We're going to scoop them off. I'll show you what this looks like right away. Okay, so I've scooped those off. I'm going to bring the nose over for a minute. Put those 2 looped ones on. Bring this back under and replace. Do the best you can with that. I know this is, like I say, the worst part of this project. Take your time, and once you get it, it's pretty smooth going from here, and we're near the end. Now you can loop up on any and all of the rows. So here's the middle. We're going under the nose piece and looping up, and one more time. And on either side, you're going to get the bottommost sets of double bands. And I'm just trying to make sure I've got the right ones there. Okay, I'm just about lost that one. I've told you my sort of, I don't know if you'd call it a superstition or my belief. It seems to me that when a project goes smoothly in my planning, the video is a little bit more troublesome. And then come into the middle here. And when I really struggle to get my pattern done, I go to do the video and it comes out quite well. So this was a smooth one to design. It was pretty straightforward designing, but having to work a little bit harder to get all the pieces together here. That's okay. And I'm looping up the side to the middle. It's a busy top peg. You're going to take 1 or 2 bands of your fur color. Take your hook and point it with the open part facing away from you, down straight through all the bands on the top center peg. Grab your 1 or 2 securing bands, and then you can slide it back up. I'm still keeping that open part away from me, and then you can turn the open part up, put the other side on, and pull the inner part, the inner loop, over the top of your hook to create a slip knot. You can hold on to this and you can put it on a C-clip when you're ready. We'll release the rest of this from the loom, and just very careful as you're going. If you see there's one loose band somewhere, try to catch it, and maybe you can get it woven in and C-clipped and saved. Hopefully you got everything. I know it gets a little more challenging when you have sections that are done in the same color. We had a lot of brown bands, or it might be gray in your case. Okay, so you want to kind of press your eyes and nose right through. You can take your securing band loop and hide it on the back with a C-clip. I'm just going to slip that under another band so that it doesn't jump about everywhere. So here's our front, If you want, you can take a couple of bands and pop them over your ears so that they stand out a little closer to the front. You can play around with which bands work best for that. Okay, I'll show you how to get your buttons showing here. So if you turn to the back, you'll see your buttons, and you're just going to kind of push them under, push them through. So with a little bit of a press, you should be able to find them on the front side. And I think we just need our tail. So the tail's really straightforward. Take your fur color, single band, wrap it on your hook 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, 5 if you need to. Doubled over single, put it on the end of your hook, slide it through. Replace, doubled over single, and I would suggest a chain at least 8 long, so that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. At this point you can make it longer, or you can use double bands, or you can use single bands. I'm going to put on 3 single bands. That will give me the added length I need to reach the middle of the back. You can go under a couple of bands in the back in the middle. Put your tail on the hook and slide it through, and then bring your whole tail through that band at the bottom of your link here. Or you can use the C-clip. There you go. Okay, let me hold this up for you to see. So they look pretty similar. This one has just slightly shorter feet, or legs, because I didn't put in those extra blues. Otherwise, these are 2 versions of your mouse from If You Give a Mouse a Cookie, with the cute little overalls, suspenders. And like I say, please let me know if you'd want to have a video to go with this for the little boy who's in the books. Alright, I thank you for watching, and let me know how it goes. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Bye.